everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got an epic show ahead, but just remember, if any of you have experiences you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you. You can either email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com or head over to paranormalportal.net and scroll down and find the button that says Interview Me, and that'll allow you to look at a calendar of possible times and dates and find a date that works for you. Love to hear your stories, so definitely get in touch with me. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and thank you so much for joining me, as always. Today we're going to do the second part of my interview with Brandi of Blondes and Booze podcast and YouTube channel. And if you didn't catch part one, go back and check that out. That should be the last episode that played on the podcast playlist, but this is part two, so it's a continuation of the ongoing discussion from part one, and I really enjoyed sitting down with Brandi. We had a great discussion about her experiences, about her abilities, and about her ideas and our ideas of the paranormal and ghosts and such. So kick back, relax, and I hope you guys enjoy it, and buckle up. We're going in.
So, I mean, I do hear it. Like I said, I can't pinpoint what it's coming from. I mean, I'm not that good. I'm not that good at all. But I can say, ooh, there's something in here.
Wow.
Something's in here. And sometimes, I mean, if you're at a place long enough, you can pinpoint it after a while. I can't just walk in there and say, oh, okay, this hat right here has an attachment. I really can't. But after a while, you kind of pinpoint it. And it's usually by handling things and feeling. Have you ever picked up something and just went, okay, I need to put that down. I don't need to hold this. Something feels weird about that. I'm going to put this down.
Sure.
That happens to me every now and again. And then I'm like, okay, I'll move on. But I don't know. I leave that more to the psychic mediums, mm-hmm. who have that ability to hone in on something.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I don't believe that everyone has what I call clairs. I believe that everybody has a clair of some sort, like clairvoyance or clairaudience or whatever. But I think everybody kind of has a mixture of what they can do. And I think that if we focused enough and open ourselves up enough that everybody could see the things that I see. I don't think I'm special.
Yeah. I
just open myself up to it to be able to see these things and hear these things.
Mm-hmm. No,
and it started from a very young age. Like I was talking about memories that I can't even remember. My mother was telling me that I was very, very young, and I had a red rocking chair, and they had bought this for me, and they put it out there, and I would never sit in it, and I'm very, very little. And she kept asking me, why won't you sit in that? I said, her's sitting in it, her's sitting in it. And that's what I kept saying to her. And she's like, I don't get it. And I said, hers is sitting in it. Hers is sitting in it, and then finally, a couple hours later, she walks in, and I'm standing in the middle of the room, and that rocking chair starts to rock.
Oh, wow. That's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was at a really, I'm guessing probably 3 years old, about 3 years old.
And then she got it. Then she got what her sitting in there is meant, right?
Yeah, because I kept saying, her sitting in it, her sitting in there. And she's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. When I said, then she's like, oh, she is sitting in it.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
get it now. I
Yeah.
get it now.
Yeah. It became
But,
abundantly clear. Yeah.
I think that a lot, that takes me back to children. Children are just wondrous creatures, and how they don't have to open themselves up, and they can just open their eyes and see these things.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it just amazes me. And my daughter, my youngest daughter, is coming along quite well. She's now 14. I didn't know if she would grow out of it or if she would continue. But she's continuing. So I'm like, great, gonna have a weird kid too. All right. All right.
Well, at least you're equipped to raise her well, because you're the
Oh yeah.
yeah.
That's my best hunting partner in the whole world. She's the best. And she's just upset because she's not old enough to go into some of these locations. Not that I would let her.
Yeah.
I don't think she's ready for some of them.
No.
But she's like, Mom, I want to go. And I'm like, well, when you're 18,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I want to go to the bar. And you're like, not till you're 21. And I'm like, you can't go ghost hunting till you're 18.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
that's our fight now. But every year as she grows older, there's a lot of them that it's like 12 and some are like 15, 16.
Sure.
And then there's 18. And then there's the one that are like no one under 18.
Yeah.
Not even with a parent or guardian. And she just can't wait for those ones. And I think by that time, she should be well aware and well equipped to investigate those kind of locations.
Yeah. Got a question in the chat from Phil Funk. He says, I don't know how to ask, but can you filter what you do and what you don't want to see? Like the good versus the bad?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes. But it's kind of like I can't filter it. I have to block it all. It's all or nothing with me. And I don't know if that's with most people. Like, if this is just me. Like I said, I'm the weirdo. It's like I either see it all, hear it all, or I hear nothing. I have to block it out. There are things that I have caught, that I've heard. I haven't seen anything, thank goodness, anything that, like we talked about, anything bad. I haven't seen anything bad. But I've heard things that are bad, like a residual type haunting, where you may hear the remnants of a fight.
Yeah.
Or, someone screaming from, gosh knows what, it could be from anything. I've heard very blood curdling things, but seeing it, I have not. And I thank goodness every day that I haven't, because that's just, I don't know, that's just something I don't want to deal with. It's kind of like I studied demonology.
Okay.
Not to be a demonologist, because no, I don't want to do that either. I don't. I just want to know that if I run across something like that I know it's time to go. That's, I just want to be able to identify and leave. That's all I want to do. That I don't want to deal with anything like that, even though like demonic things are rare. I mean, seeing demons are very, very rare, and I go all over, so I don't want to be put in a position where that could be a factor.
Yeah. No, God, no. Yeah. And
right.
And I was talking about that with Krista too. It's like that the whole use of the word demon in the paranormal field is just epidemic. It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I'm with you.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think they're using it as clickbait or trying to get people to check out their video, because it's not a ghost thing, it's a demon thing. That'd be way cooler to watch. Well, obviously it's more than likely not true, but if it is true, I don't think people understand the gravity of that kind of situation, you better be really good with your faith if you're going to be dealing with something like that.
Yeah, I just don't want to deal with it. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. That's where I
Oh, me
draw the
too.
line. I'm
Yep.
done.
Yeah.
I'm just done.
Me too.
I think a lot of people misidentify um, demon and a super negative energy.
Yeah.
I think we misidentify these things because I mean, you can run across a really grumpy, nasty spirit.
Yes.
You can.
Oh, sure.
And they will do everything they possibly can to you to get you out of their space. I mean, they will push you, they will trip you, they will throw stuff at you, they will do all kinds of things. Um, but a lot of people think that if they're getting that kind of um, negative energy, they're just going to be like, oh, that's a demon. But it's not. It really isn't. It really isn't. It's just grumpy as grumpy. I mean, I've ran across people who are living and breathing that are just nasty people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just nasty people.
Yeah. That's true.
So I'm like, yeah, well, we'll just kind of bypass that.
Yeah.
And I sidestep those people too. I really do. I'm kind of like, I don't have you. You're not taking my energy. Thanks. I'm leaving. I avoid them like the plague.
Sure.
But yeah, I just, like I said, to learn about demonology it's a lifetime of learning because you will never know everything. Never.
Oh, yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
But it's good just to keep yourself updated, just so like I said, I just want to know if I need to leave. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
I agree. And those people that, are looking for that is, that to me is really concerning because it's such a powerful type of entity. And it lives or exists to destroy. I mean, that's its motivation. It's hate. It's all of these malice and negative intentions all wrapped up into, a bunch of rage towards us. And God only knows what the whole story is there, but they just don't like us. and
Well, yeah, I mean, people just don't understand. They think it's all fun and games until the oppression kicks in.
Oh God.
And then, then the start of possession. Yeah. Once the steps start kicking in, well, then it's not fun anymore. You know what I mean? It's like they thought it was all cool that they were trying to summon a demon and this thing, and then they get more than they asked for.
Yeah, they're just not.
Or they got everything they asked for, basically. Right. And then it leaves that mess to somebody else to deal with it and to clean it up. You see that all the time about people opening up portals and things like that, and then they don't know how to close these things, and it's it becomes a mess. It becomes a mess, and it's kind of like if we do a home a residential investigation where somebody is having problems in their home and they don't know what's going on and they want it to stop and things like that. And then you're going through and you're trying to figure out what you're dealing with, this thing and that. And then you find out, hey, they've been openly talking to these spirits. They've been using a Ouija board. They've been, using audio devices. They've been trying to communicate with these things any which way they can. And then they wonder why they have a problem.
Yes. Yeah. And
it's leaving that mess for someone else. And I don't like that.
And this is my personal theory. I try to bounce it off everyone just to see what they think, but I don't think demons wear a banner. They don't go, well, you're in trouble now because I'm a demon and you better pack a lunch because this is going to get busy. I don't think they let you know that they're there. And even like the oppression, and the depression and the anxiety that they create. I think that they have this, and sorry if it's redundant to some of my listeners, but a war of attrition. They want to wear a person down. And I don't think in most cases the person understands what's happening. It's just they can't feel happy. They can't feel, they just don't feel like they can find the sunshine. They're just in this darkness, in this web, and it's a horrible thing. And I really believe that demons don't want you to know they're there. They're going to do what they're going to do, and they're going to weaken you and wear you down and wear you down. And by the time you realize what you're dealing with, you're in huge trouble. Like, then it's late in the game, and it's a fight for your life.
Right. By the time you realize what's actually happening, it's already too late.
Right.
It's too late.
Yeah.
Because demons are sneaky.
Yeah.
They're going to be with you way longer than you know.
Yeah.
They're going to be sitting back there and just waiting. That's all they got is time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, they're just going to start sneaking up and sneaking up and sneaking up until they start to affect you.
Yeah.
And then when they start affecting you and, you go to your spiritual source, whatever it may be for you, God, I'm Christian, so God would be mine. Mm-hmm. So if I start praying to God that I don't want this thing and I am too strong for it, and I don't want to feel this way, and I'm asking God for guidance and help. And what will happen is that thing will start attacking everyone around you, anyone that's near. It's, dear to you. In my case, it would be like my children, or my mother, or, my just people that are close to me. That's where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And it's not because it wants them. It wants you. But it's going to go to them and do bad things to them.
And hurt them. Yep.
Yep, it's going to hurt them until you finally say, hey, leave them alone and take me. That's what they're waiting for.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what they're waiting for. It's like they have to wait for the invite. Mm-hmm. They can't come in otherwise. Yep. They're just waiting for the invite. And that's the scary part. That's the very scary part.
Yeah, sure.
Because what is a parent going to do?
Well, yeah.
If you have this thing attacking your child, what are you going to do? Leave my child alone and take me. That's what you're going to say. It's what every parent's going to say. Leave my child alone and take me. And they're like, okay, no problem. That's what I want in the first place. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, they do need permission. So, you're right. I don't think they can't act on their own accord. They need permission, but I think that permission can come in a lot of different ways. It can come just as a point of surrender, not verbally always like take me, but it can be just like I just don't have the power to fight anymore. Where a person is just so worn down they can't even resist anymore. And that certainly would qualify as a permission. I think surrendering to the fear and the hopelessness is granting of a permission of sorts. But
right.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
That's when the oppression kicks in. That's what they're working on right there. They're wearing you down at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
They're wearing you down so far that the possession will kick in. Yeah. And
Phil is asking.
I have seen for myself what something a negative energy can do. Now, I'm not going to classify this thing as a demon or anything else. I'm not going to say that because I wasn't really sure what it is. Mm-hmm. But I watched a woman whose facial expressions change to where it didn't even look like her.
Yeah.
And she was screaming.
Oh. Yikes.
And I knew this person. And it was something that I'd never seen before.
No.
And like I said, It doesn't have to be a demon.
No, it doesn't. You're right. And
Mm-mm.
I think we're dealing with, in a lot of cases, a whole catalog of things that we just consider to be ghosts and demons, and many of which maybe were never people. But Phil Funk in the chat says, "Do you have any protections for your loved ones to try and prevent that?" Well, obviously, faith, Phil. Finding a faith that you're passionate about. If you're a Christian, appeal to that faith. Prayer. You know, baptism, cleansing, confessional if you're Catholic, things
Right.
like that align you with the will of God in your religious observations. Yeah, whatever your religion is, but I think faith is the best ward against all of that. And of course,
Right.
there's plenty.
Right. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. I'm very holistic too. So
Hmm.
um I I also believe in the things God has given us on earth
Hmm.
to protect us also. Of course, iron is a big one. Iron is a big one. But I also believe like I have like all these things that are in back of me. I have them all throughout the house. I believe in crystals and their vibration and things like that because I do feel better when I have certain crystals around me.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel better. It makes me feel happier. Um, of course, this is rose quartz, and that's the one that makes me feel great. Amethyst is another one that makes me feel great. But there are a couple that I can't have around me, and it's very weird. I don't know if it may be the frequency is coming off of because I believe that everything on this earth vibrates
Hmm.
to its own frequency and some of them are beating at like a lower frequency where it won't let me sleep or too high of a frequency it won't let me sleep or there's just all kinds of things. That's why they say if you love your crystals and your metaphysical, amethyst is a great one to have that's calming and things like that. But that, trust me when I say that my holistic views and my crystals and everything are a secondary. My
Oh,
Christian faith is my first and foremost.
right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The full shield of God, Werewolf says. Yeah, exactly. And
Absolutely.
and it,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, don't get me wrong because I love my crystals. I do. I do. I love them so much. And there's a lot of people out there that really do care about those things. Um, but no, faith is my first and foremost.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I think that's exceptionally powerful. Now, do you mind if I ask you, because we've kind of covered a bit of it just as we've gone through these experiences and insights of yours, but at what point did you decide that you wanted to investigate?
That's a good question because I don't know if I ever decided or if it was just in me.
Okay.
Because even I remember even as a young teenager, there is where I grew up in Michigan, there's a very famous cemetery and it has a statue that is called Crack the Whip. And it's with all these kids, they're in a line and you know how they would drag you around and kind of snap the last kid and they'd go flying. Well, there's one in the cemetery and it's very famous. And if you sat out there at night, you could kind of really listen and you'd hear these children kind of giggling. You'd have these noises going on. Um, and it just, that was like, I would say my very first investigation,
Oh,
just hanging out with teenagers and we just hang out there ghost hunting. Um, I never guess I really never chose to. It's just something I always did.
okay. Okay.
It just got more sophisticated. As more equipment came out, it just got more sophisticated. We'll go with that.
Well, now that's a great follow-up question. How do you feel about these different tools and modalities that have been developed for investigating? Do you think that there's merit to it, or do you think a lot of it is it smoke and mirrors? Is it just where do you fall on that spectrum?
Some of them I agree with 100%. I
Okay.
do believe they work. And the spirit box is number one.
Uh-huh.
I love that thing, but I love it on a radio frequency. Um, because the spirit box came as a Frank's box. That was the first known spirit box, was a Frank's box.
Okay.
His name was Frank Sumption, was the one who actually made these, and he used them to try and communicate with aliens on a shortwave radio.
Oh,
But
okay.
but then he started picking up these other things, and he's like, "Hey, I'm not talking to aliens," and figured out that he's talking to people who have passed away and are on this plane. So so
Oh,
that's how that all came out. Now, the Frank's box, there are still some out there, and he when he made them, he numbered them.
oh, okay.
And some people I know have a few of them, but there's not many left in existence.
Oh,
There is one gentleman that had a Frank's box, and I can honestly say that there were things coming out of that spirit box that nobody knew around me. That they were talking about me, and it was for the message was for me, and nobody else knew that type of information around me. So I automatically knew that this was no joke.
wow.
This was
Okay.
no joke. Um, so I believe in that. I don't particularly care for the ones that these apps and things on the phones.
Okay.
I can't use those. I can't, because when you download these things, what's the first thing that they're going to ask you for? They're going to ask you for your contacts. They're going to ask you for use of your microphone, and they want your media.
Hmm.
How many times have you been looking something up on Google? Let's just say we're going to look up a pair of New Balance tennis shoes on Google. Then we're going to flip over to Facebook, and next thing you know, you start seeing all these ads of
Yeah.
New Balance tennis shoes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
because they're constantly monitoring and listening
Sure.
to what you're doing. And so I have a tendency to steer away from the electronic spirit box. Give me the good old box with wires and the radio. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I think it work for me. It works much better. Of course, I'm clear audio, so I hear it.
Hmm.
But I love recording. I love to listen live, but I need to use my recorder because it actually amplifies what I'm listening to. It's kind of like having bad hearing. So I love those. I love the audio,
Hmm.
and I don't care what you catch the audio on. I just prefer, again, not to use my phone.
Okay.
Yeah, I try to stay away from my cell phone. The only time I use my cell phone, I will use it for video. Absolutely use it for video.
Yeah.
It's really handy, and it's not heavy, so it works out great. And a gimbal, I use a gimbal, and that's just a thing I hook my phone on, and it moves. It's electronic, and it moves for me, so everything is really smooth,
Yeah.
especially when I'm moving around.
Yeah. Yep.
What's another good one I like to use? I use a lot of them. I like my body cam.
Oh, okay.
I love my body cam because it is infrared,
Okay.
and it shows me about 50 feet in front of me. So I love that. The only problem is, and I will tell everybody this, uh, when you see something, you can't just turn your head to the side because your body cam can't see what you're seeing. You got to move your whole body
Oh,
and look right at it with your body straight up on it.
so you got to move like you're a Lego.
Because I missed a lot of things like that because I turned my head real quick to see what it was, and
It was good.
I missed it on my body cam. I'm like, I got it, and I'm like, no, I didn't. I wasn't even. My body wasn't even facing it. But I'm getting better. I'm getting better at it.
Sure.
And the last time I wore it, I caught light anomalies moving throughout the room. Excuse me. It was about 30, 32 degrees outside. It was absolutely downright freezing. And so I know there was no bugs.
Mm-hmm.
There's absolutely no bugs flying around. And I watched this thing with my own eyes have its own light source. And I watched it move from the floor all the way to the ceiling.
Oh.
And then a little bit later, I watched it kind of go at a diagonal rate from a different, well, it's probably a different orb, but from one side to another side.
Okay.
Excuse me, I had to get some water. But I caught it. Not only did I see it, I caught it with the infrared. So I was absolutely amazed.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a rare thing that, especially that you saw it with your own eyes as well as captured it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was with some friends and I said, hey, did you see that? And they're like, see what? And I started telling them, she's like, no, I didn't see it. And the other person said, no, I didn't see it. I said, hold on. I got my camera going. And so I took it off and started reviewing it. And sure enough, it was right there. I was like, yes, I caught it.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
Very nice.
It is very nice. And it's very rare to capture those.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, of course, it was an infrared, but you can still see that it had its own light source and it was shining pretty bright, over the recording. So I was like, awesome. I barely catch those because they move so quick sometimes that you don't even realize what you're looking at.
Right.
Most of the time, I have to go back and look at it 3 or 4 times because I dismiss it as dust.
Sure.
But when I seen that light source with my own eyes, I'm like, that's an orb. That is definitely a ball of energy, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Orb is just a word, everybody uses,
right.
But it is a ball of energy creating its own light and moving.
That's really cool. It's good that you said that too, because the unknown in chat said, I would like to know exactly what an orb looks like and what it is.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. It is a form of energy moving about on its own, creating its own light source.
Mm-hmm.
That's what an orb is. And it's very hard to distinguish sometimes when you're taking pictures. Because sometimes we'll look at pictures, oh, there's an orb, but there's an explanation for it. Yeah. It could be a lens glare. It could be your flash shining off of dust within the room. It could be a whole lot of things. Mm-hmm. It could be a bug. I mean, they got bugs out there that you look at them and on your cameras and stuff, and they look like Tinkerbell.
Yeah.
It's not Tinkerbell. You don't have a fairy floating around. It's an actual bug. And Krista and I usually keep, we show it on our show quite a bit, but it shows you what it could look like with night vision. So you can have a kind of an understanding of what it would look like.
Mm-hmm.
But we've seen some that there's no explanation for it because there was many different colors. I was seeing one instance, Krista was seeing an orange red type of orb that was large. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. She said it was very large. I was seeing red ones, but they were very small. Another person said she saw a white one, but it looked like it was so bright. It looked like a flashlight, like they were coming out of the woods and it looked like a flashlight.
Oh, wow.
But it wasn't anybody coming up out of the woods because they were walking down there to meet him because they weren't supposed to be in there. And there was nobody there. So yeah. We've also had friends that had seen gold ones out in the woods that had shot from the bottom of a tree stump all the way up. Okay. So, I mean, there are many different colors. And we talked about this a little bit before on different shows. Everybody's like, well, if it's red, it's this. If it's blue, it's this. If it's yellow, it's this. Again, I'm not going to confirm anything because I I can't tell you how that would be.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yep.
There's no proof out there that any of that is true,
Very true. Yep.
But they're beautiful nonetheless. When you see a real one, they're beautiful. There's nothing like it.
Yes.
And an orb is, again, it makes you think they're circular. They're not necessarily circular. They could be kind of oval, or they could be. To me, I've seen one that kind of looked like cotton candy a little bit, like kind of wispy, but it had its own light source, and it just shot. I was in an old theater, and it just shot across the ceiling.
Oh, neat.
And I was like, oh. Yeah, it just wasn't your typical what people would consider an orb, a circular thing. They're not always all circular.
Sure.
Wow. They have strange shapes. So just keep an eyeball out for them, because when you see one, you'll know it. You'll know it for sure because you'll see it with your own eyes. You won't need any help.
Yeah, and sizes. There's everything from golf ball size, basketball size, softball size. Little dinky things. They're come in all shapes and sizes.
Absolutely, like I said, when you see one, you'll know it.
Yeah, I've seen them with my own eyes.
Yeah.
And it looked like, for me, it looked like a little sun. It wasn't so bright that it was like, oh, I can't look at it, but it was this little glowing orb of golden light, and it went right by my face. I was in my house at the time back in Minnesota. The first one I saw, the second one I saw was here, and it went right by my legs, came around the cupboard, and then went around my legs and was gone. And
wow!
Both times it was about the size of a 50-cent piece. Yeah.
Wow.
Huh. Yeah.
Well, I've had them. I've had them here in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll tell you the story while we got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So I've had this house since 2009, and I've done my research on this house, and nobody has ever passed away in the house. There has nothing been tragic that has happened here, just nothing.
Okay.
So I'm kind of on the theory of I brought them with me.
Oh.
That I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's just a thing I've lived with my whole life. So I'm pretty sure I brought them with me. When I moved in 2009, it started off as just little things. Like I'd hear footsteps going through the hallways. Like I would be going to the bathroom in the far part of the house, and nobody would be here. And then there would be footsteps following me all the way in there. And then when I would come out, they'd follow me all the way out. It was just like they were following me around the house. And it got to the point where they were making a lot of noise, like in the kitchen, like opening and shutting cupboards and things like that. And so it got crazy for a while, and then it stopped. Probably about 2 years after I moved in, then it just kind of calmed down. It's just like I'm kind of through with you guys. You can quit. And I guess they got tired of me yelling at them. Yeah. It's just kind of like, you got to quiet down. I'm trying to sleep. Yeah. You just get so irritated. Yeah. And so that happened. And it just kind of quieted down. And then I didn't have any activity for a few years. And then back in 2020, my oldest brother, who is ill now, but he got COVID. He was one of the first patients to get one, and they didn't even know what it was.
Oh, wow.
To get it. He was in Roanoke, Virginia. He was driving a truck. He had to pull over on the side of the road and call an ambulance because he couldn't drive any further. He said that his lungs felt like they were glass. It was so bad that I was putting my mother on the flight the next day because the hospital was calling and saying, we don't know if he's going to make it, and all of this other kind of stuff. So I sent her out there, and this is way before we knew what we were dealing with, which was crazy. Well, he did get better. After about 3 weeks in the hospital, we brought him back here, but he had his own home But we moved him out of there because it was a few hours away from me. We moved him in here with me, and my mother, so we could take care of him, because he was having all kinds of issues that was brought up by the Rona. We're just going to call it the Rona. Anyway, and that's when they started shutting down. He got this in February. All right. So in March of 2020 is when they started shutting down everything. Imagine that. They started shutting down all these other kind of stuff. Well, his son, he was 20 years old at the time, decided that he was going to come here and stay with his dad, because the school that he was in was shut down. So he come stay here with us, which was fine. I mean, the more the merrier here. I mean, whatever. But I used to get after him all the time. He would like to go out into the garage, and from my bedroom into the garage, you can see the big overhead lights that he would turn on, because it's a 3-bay garage. You turn on one light, they all come on, and I'd be like, "Hey," I said, "push the little button, go down on the 3rd bay," and I said, "That's just a little dim light, and you can smoke out there." And he would sit out there for hours playing on his phone, smoke his cigarettes, do whatever, and that was perfectly fine with me. But in November of 2020, they decided that they were going to move out those two, because my brother felt better, and they were going to get a house together and wait for his school to reopen. So they moved out. He turned 21 that January.
Mm-hmm.
And just a few weeks after that, he was in a car accident, a 1-car car accident, and he passed away in that accident. So everything was strange. He'd only been gone for 2 months from the house. I mean, just 2 months. And like I said, he turned 21, he got in an accident, passed away. And then all kinds of weird things started happening about 2 months after that. Oh. 2 months after that, things started happening where I would hear a male voice, particularly a male voice. I couldn't tell what it was saying or anything like that, but I heard a male voice. It was so bad one night that I'm laying in bed and I'm looking out one of my windows, and I can see the garage light. It's just going on and off, on and off, on and off. And then it go on and off and off. And it was just flickering, and then it would stay on and then it'll go off. And I'm like, what is going on with this?
Yeah.
So I went and got my mother, and I made my mother come in here. We sit and we were looking out the window and we're watching the garage light, and it was going on and off, on and off. And I walked out there and nothing was happening. Nothing. The light wasn't going on and off anymore. It just stopped.
Uh-huh.
So about a month later, my daughter and my youngest daughter and my mother, they went on a little weekend trip, those two. And I had to work, and I was kind of bummed I had to stay home. So I'm laying in bed again. It's pitch dark, trying to go to sleep because I got to go to work. And I see this happening again. And I'm like, you're kidding me. And so I'm like, all right. So I took a video of it, believe it or not. I got it on video the second time because I'm thinking, sometimes I'm not thinking, but that time I was thinking, I'm going to get my video out and I'm going to take a video of it. And you could hear me talking, and I walk out to the garage. As soon as I walk out the garage and turn the big light on, the other light stopped. Wasn't blinking anymore.
Oh, wow.
So I figured out it was the 3rd bay light, the garage light. So whenever the garage door would open or shut, that light would come on, or you could push the button to turn it on. But on that 3rd bay, I had the power completely shut down to it because I didn't use it.
Oh, wow.
So there was no power going to that particular door, but it was still going on and off. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's mice. Maybe they're chewing on a wire. Maybe they're doing all kinds of stuff. So I had somebody climb up in the attic and follow the wires and everything. Nothing.
Huh.
Absolutely nothing. Just absolutely nothing. But that wasn't the only thing, because, I was laying in bed another night, and I'm looking out the other side, and I have curtains there, and I had a fan on, but it wasn't pointing directly over here. And Next thing you know, I start seeing my curtains move. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to record this too. Absolutely going to record this. So I'm watching it and watching it. Next thing you know, you can see it kind of do this a little bit. And I'm thinking, okay, that's the fan. That's got to be something. Then I watched it jerk totally to the other side and come back very quickly.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, okay, that's not normal. All right. So again, I have to debunk everything. I am going after the root cause of all this stuff because I want to know. I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, that's paranormal. That's a ghost. If I'm not absolutely sure, I can't explain it.
Right.
So after that jerk had happened, it could just quit moving. And then it would just quiver just a little bit, just a hair. So I went and got my mom and told my mother, I said, hey, this is what's going on. I said, help me figure this out. So we're like, okay, so I'm laying in bed and I said, okay, I'm here now. Go over there and see if you feel anything over here. And I swear to God, if anybody was watching us, they'd have thought we were crazy. I had her raising her arms. I'm like, do you feel a draft up here? Do you feel a draft down here? Is there anything down here? Here's my mom just doing it because this is what we do. Yeah. And finally she stepped like right in front, not probably about a step back away from that curtain, and that curtain jerked.
Oh.
And then she stepped away from it. Then she stepped back and it jerked shut again. So we figured out it was the airflow. Okay. But I will tell you this, somebody had to have been standing right where she was standing for that curtain to move. It had to disrupt the airflow to make that curtain jerk the way it did.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
But when I saw it, nobody was standing there. And the only other time it did it, it was when my mom was standing right in front of it.
Or were they?
Exactly. So I mean, it's all kinds of strange stuff. Just just crazy stuff that happens to me on a daily basis. This is my life.
But don't you love it though? I mean, really, you do love it, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And everybody's like, oh, you got to cleanse. You got to do this. You got to do that. Look, I'm not, I mean, it's not hurting me. I don't speak with them. I don't openly communicate. I don't open that can of worms in my own home is basically what it is. And that keeps everything down to a minimum. Mm-hmm. Now I have had an attachment, in the weirdest of places. You would think that this is very strange because this is not how you think you would get an attachment. Like, okay, you go to a haunted place and you get an attachment. This is not what happened to me. I was going to work one morning and I live out in a rural area, so it's very, very dark. And I'm driving to work and I have to go through town and to get to the highway. Well, I'm coming up to the first stoplight and there is a light pole there. Right. Mm. And as I'm turning the corner, I see somebody walking up to this light pole and I'm thinking, oh, great. I don't want to hit anybody this early in the morning because it was probably about 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah. You want to hit people later on in the day. That's better.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't want to hit anybody, period. Because, I just something about that and being in the dark is just something I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So I look back at them and they were walking up. But they were just out of light's distance, but I could see the person coming. Couldn't see what they were wearing or anything. I'm just like, okay. And so I looked back at the road to make sure I'm going to stay on the road. And then I looked back at them and then they're gone.
Oh.
Now, there are no ditches. It's all flat. There's no houses right there that they could have ran to. Nothing. It was absolutely gone. But then the most curious thing happened. Like a split second after I realized that, hey, I don't think that person was breathing alive. Then I got this burning oil smell, like cooking oil. Not like car oil, like cooking oil inside my car. And I mean, it was super, super strong. It was so strong. And I was like almost kind of coughing. I was like, oh my gosh, what is the smell? And then about a quarter of a mile, it finally dissipated to where I could go, okay, that was weird, right? So from then on out, I I have what Krista and I refer to as my friend. It just I think I picked up a hitchhiker or got hijacked. I wasn't sure. But this thing happens to go with me everywhere that I go. Every once in a while, I'll get that smell, that tinge of that burnt oil.
Uh-huh.
And it's like I go places with Krista, and this is funny. She could stay in a different hotel room than me. I'll have a great weekend and I'll sleep great. I won't be bothered at all. But this thing will just, throw things around in a room and make all kinds of noises and all kinds of stuff. We've actually stayed in another place, an Airbnb, where we had other people in the house who were upstairs in the bedrooms and we were downstairs, and they were complaining because they had people, or somebody was walking around in the room all weekend long, and they couldn't get any sleep. And this thing just likes to travel. It just likes to travel. It's been everywhere. And the funny thing is I come home from one of these trips and I'm like, I feel great. I got enough sleep. I'm good, And then I'm like, well, I better, get a good sleep in tonight. I got to go back to work tomorrow, yuck work. And then all of a sudden I heard a male voice, like almost a stern male voice, go, Brandi.
Oh.
And just wake me up. Just any tiredness I felt was automatically gone. It was just gone. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, it's back. Oh, it's back, and then it goes on for a little while. But like I said, I don't try to communicate with these things at home. But, this is what we do on a daily basis. We talk about these things with each other. I go on podcasts. They come on mine. I talk about the strange and unusual 6 days a week on different shows. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot, that I talk about, and that may keep them hanging around more than if they were just a hijack or hitchhike or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that happens and they get bored and they just go wherever they go.
Yep.
You just don't feel them around anymore.
Yep.
But I think that's what I wouldn't call it a bad thing for me. It's just something that I got to be aware of. It's setting those boundaries and allowing them to do things. Now, my boundaries are in my home, no bathroom, no bedroom, and leave my mother and my daughter alone.
Yeah.
That's my bottom list. Everything else, hey, go on. You want to go clack some pots and pans? Go on out in the kitchen. I don't, just go. Have fun, enjoy it.
Sure.
It's whatever you choose to do.
Yeah.
But lately, it's been pretty quiet for me, though. It has been pretty quiet.
Well, that's good. Knock on wood. I think it's neat that this has not only been an experience, the experience of your lifetime, in other words, having all this contact, but that you seem to have grown into it and found your balance. And I mean, you're not like some people just almost seem tortured. Other people seem, I don't know, maybe concerned, but you seem to have this good balance and this good understanding of it, and you seem to be at peace with it.
Oh yeah, I embrace it. I mean, for me, it's not going away. It's not going away. I grew up this way. It's never going to change for me,
Yeah.
and so I work it out. I mean. Yeah. Like I said, I work it out. I have my boundaries, and it's fine for me. Mm-hmm. It's fine for me. But not everybody is cut out for it. Not everybody is cut out to be seeing spirits, and they're not cut out to be hearing voices of people who are not there.
Right.
So I mean, it's just kind of like it's okay with me. It's something that I do and that I enjoy. And like I said, I travel the United States finding these places. I mean, if you say a place is haunted, I'm like, I'm from the show me state. Show me. Show me it's haunted. Come on.
Yeah.
It's like if I can get there, I'm coming. I'm just saying.
Yeah, me too. I'm really kind of embracing that as well. But I hope you at some point will come back and be a part of the show again. I know we covered a lot of ground, but it was fascinating, and I really want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing all of this with us.
Oh, yeah. Well, we haven't even touched on Bigfoot, so that's another show.
That's definitely another show, and you are welcome anytime you want to come on. Of course.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful getting to be your friend and to be a co-host with you in many cases. That's been a lot of fun. So, but would you take a minute and let people know how to stay in touch with you and what you're doing?
Oh, yes, absolutely. You can catch me on Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast. It's kind of a little weird. Blondes and Booze comes on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Central and on Fridays at 7 p.m. Central. But we have another little show that I do with some of my other podcast friends. It's on Wednesday nights. It's called Paranormal Show and Tell. It's at 7 p.m. Central on Wednesdays. Many other shows that I'm on.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again, Brandi, and really had a lot of fun talking to you. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap it up for us today. So hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thank you again so much for all your love and support. And remember, if you want to follow the Paranormal Portal, probably the easiest way is to head over to paranormalportal.net. And that's the homepage for the Paranormal Portal. And you'll find links to all of our different social media and sites and information about the shows, including our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/paranormalportal. Or just look for Paranormal Portal on Google or whatever search engine, and you'll find links to our social media such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. So we're kind of all over the place, and we're spreading as well as we can. But anyway, thank you so much for the love and support. You all take care, and remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Until next time.